Hello and welcome to the Story Engine podcast. My name is Kyle Gray, and today on the show we have Scott Aaron. Scott is a master at helping people show up consistently, confidently, and effectively on LinkedIn. We're going to break down some of the elements of his process to get you showing up better and more powerfully on the LinkedIn platform. And we're going to be creating a story about his experience on how he created the hard-won confidence to show up and create the compounding interest that is possible on LinkedIn. So without any further ado, let's hand it over to Scott Aaron. Scott Aaron, welcome to the Story Engine podcast.
Kyle Gray, grateful and honored to be here.
I am excited to discover and create a story with you today. But before we get into the meat and potatoes of the episode, could you give us a little bit of an introduction? Tell us about who you are and how you're showing up in the world today.
So my name is Scott Aaron. I live in New Jersey, just outside of Philadelphia. And how I'm showing up in the world is I'm a LinkedIn coach and consultant. Myself and my wife run multiple companies together, but they are all built around helping coaches, consultants, and service professionals show up more genuinely and authentically on LinkedIn to grow their business, build their personal brand, and obviously generate high quality leads that convert into sales so they can grow their business the way that we have and continue to do so. So we've looked to show up each and every day with value added content on the platform, giving people hope, but also knowledge that they can then learn from, apply, and see results without giving us a dollar. But when they're ready to make an investment, we're always there for them.
I love it. When it comes to showing up authentically, it's quite a buzzword that I think everybody wants, but a lot of people have a really hard time defining what that is or what that means to them. Could you go into a little bit of what the word means to you and how you conjure that in yourself and others?
Yep. So my wife and I have something called the filter of life. And before we do anything as far as posting content or how we show up, we run it through this filter and basically asking yourself three questions. Is it truthful? Is it necessary? And is it kind? And if what you're posting is not truthful, is not necessary, or not kind, then you don't post it. And that has allowed us to find our true authenticity and genuineness because my wife and I are both human-centric people. It's ingrained in my DNA to connect with other human beings because we love helping other people succeed the way that we have. It is something that we want to share. And we want to show up as our first-class self every single day. We don't participate in any sort of political arena type of content or shaming or any of that. There is plenty of everything to go around. We love to lead with love, with empathy, with sympathy, because we know that not everybody is in the best place that they want to be. But we want to give people that, as I said earlier, hope and uplift them, but also help them gain the confidence that what is inside of myself and my wife and the way that we show up, it's inside of all of us. You just have to look for it. And you have to take that step of obviously vulnerability and getting outside of your comfort zone to step into a new arena of how you're putting yourself out there? Absolutely. But as T. Harv Eker has always said and continues to say, every master was once a disaster. So in the very beginning, it's going to be a little bit messy. But just like any muscle that you work out, it's going to be pretty sore the first few workouts. But with repetition, with consistency, routine, and structure, it gets stronger and easier as you go.
I love that, especially just not posting political things. I feel that LinkedIn is a space that's the most immune to a lot of political things. For some reason, I see that entirely happening on Facebook, but It
Yeah,
just
LinkedIn actually kicks you off. They have like a zero tolerance policy
mhm.
for anything that's polarizing. Like it's literally in their user agreement. If you post anything polarizing, we don't just delete the content, we delete you from the platform so you don't have that. And this is not about censorship or any of that BS. This has to be about, this is a business networking platform. This is not about political or religious views. There are tons of other platforms out there for that. So let's
Mhm.
keep LinkedIn the way that it's supposed to be, which is about business, networking, collaborating, and helping each other win in business.
Absolutely. And yeah, I agree. And those things are important. And I don't think that it serves anybody to just to be constantly posting those things. And I can't think of a time or I can't think of any cases where I saw an inflammatory Facebook post and had my mind change. And I've never heard somebody have their mind changed from anything like that. But yeah, then enough about that. Let's talk about the good stuff. And I think that one of the most pervasive problems, I see this in a lot of ways in my world, and I think that this is really big in people being inconsistent in their social media posting, is they simply don't have the confidence. They have ideas that they could work with, but they don't have the confidence, or maybe it's the structure to really sit with those ideas for long enough to create something.
Hmm.
And so I'm curious. You mentioned it, like working out and building that out. What are some of how do we get people started down this road?
So, as far as gaining confidence, I think I always like to revert back to when we were all kids because that's something that we can all kind of relate to. You know, we
Hmm.
all go along the same lifetime line. And I think about the first time that we did anything. And I like to use the analogy of riding a bike. And nowadays, when, you know, people that are listening or watching that have kids, you know, the first bike that you get them, you know, are those bikes that have no pedals and they're pretty low to the ground so that the kids just kind of like, you know, walk with their feet to kind of understand how the bike works. Then eventually, you know, you'll graduate to a bike that's a little bit bigger. It has the training wheels, so you kind of understand the balance of, you know, keeping yourself on the bike. And then eventually, you know, the training wheels come off, and mom or dad or you know whoever your you know parental figure is holding the back of that seat, kind of like helping you get your bearings. And eventually, at one point, they're going to let go. And that first time that they let go of the back of that seat and you are on your own pedaling and kind of figuring out your bearings, it's scary, it's uncomfortable, and you're probably very low on the confidence scale. But as you continue to pedal and you go further and further down the road, and you're understanding that it's not just about how fast you're pedaling, it's about, you know, obviously your upper body keeping, you know, the bike straight and pointing in the right direction and slowing down when you need to. That first ride, you start gaining that confidence, right? And then obviously sometimes you forget how to brake because you're so honed in on learning how to just go forward that, you know, you topple over to the side, and you know what, you dust yourself off, you get back up, and before you know it, you don't need the help of your parents to kind of help you get going. You kind of get back on the bike and you start pedaling, and your confidence grows and grows and grows. And then before you know it, a couple weeks goes by, and I remember doing this as a kid, and I'm sure you do as well. You know, you'd be driving down you know, just like your neighborhood street, and you know how the driveways, when you know there's a driveway, that the curb of the sidewalk kind of like dips down, and you would start doing jumps off of those things, and you would try something new. And so confidence builds over time. Anyone that thinks that they're going to be confident from day one, yeah, there might be some people that are very um just very outgoing in the sense that they're more willing to put themselves out there without that fear, and you know, not having to know everything, and the confidence is going to build. But there's a lot of people that, you know, are pretty shy. Maybe it's social anxiety, maybe it's, you know, they do lack confidence because of some aspect of their life growing up. But what I know is true, and this is not just applicable to life, but it's also applicable to business, is that confidence builds over time. And I would say, second to that, people will see an increase in their confidence when you actually see the fruits of your labor. And for me, using myself as an example, when I started leveraging LinkedIn for my online business back at the end of 2013, early 2014, it was an amazing time because I was venturing into uncharted territory. I self-taught, myself how to use it. And then I started reaching out to some friends in the space that I was in the coaching and consulting world. And I said, you got to try this platform. It's amazing. And one friend in particular, a couple weeks later, shot me a text message. And all the message said was, dude, call me. So I gave him a call and I said, Joe, what's up? And he said, Scott, listen, dude, he goes, I don't know what you figured out with this platform, but it works. He goes, I have 14 qualified appointments booked this week. He goes, you should be teaching this to other people. And I'll never forget that conversation because that conversation gave me the confidence that I needed to say, you know what I did for myself is now working for other people. And then it went a step further where he's like, you should be teaching other people how to do this. And I said, what are you talking about? And backstory, Kyle, I was in the fitness industry for 18 years, from 1998 to 2016. 2013 is when I got into the business coaching and consulting. And he said, listen, you've spent the last decade and a half teaching and coaching people how to create and have healthy bodies. Now you can do the same thing and you can teach them how to create and have healthy businesses using LinkedIn. And that's all I really needed to hear, because that's when everything kind of clicked for me. And my confidence grew even more because I knew if I could help all the people that I was helping in the way that I was prior, and I've already proven the concept, not only for myself, but I had other people getting results, the confidence just built with each and every conversation. And Kyle, I can't tell you how many times I spoke to people when I was on discovery calls, and they're like, man, you're really confident in what you can do for someone. And I would say, yeah, because I know it works if people apply it. And that same confidence shines through in all the conversation I'm still having today. I do not blow smoke. I do not tell fibs. I am very factual. I am actual. And I tell people exactly what is going to happen and what will work and what won't work. And I'm truthful when I say, if you do what I suggest, you're going to get the results you want.
One of the things that I appreciate about your confidence, and I think one of the biggest misconceptions about confidence, and this is somewhat of a compliment to everybody out there who may not feel they have it, is confidence isn't something that's innate in us, especially for those who are intelligent and talented. In fact, we start with minus confidence, and that's because we're smart in a lot of ways. If you just start out in the world and you have just an overwhelming amount of confidence already, then that's kind of a red flag in some ways. And even in your story, you built this on many different levels of confidence. You had a fitness business before, then you were doing this for yourself, and then people reflected back to you that this works. And this is the same process of the bike riding, that what you were saying for yourself. And so I want everybody listening to really understand the key difference between simply wanting to be confident and expecting it to just be something that naturally occurs for you. But again, this is a muscle that works over time. And what I would love to go into is, what are the other symptoms and challenges that your clients are facing in their business and in their life because of this lack of confidence, because they're hidden, they're not getting their message out? What are some of the problem areas that this looks like for them?
Do we have enough time for this? Anyway, I'm kidding.
Top three.
Top three, I would say, when someone possesses a lack of confidence, I would say the number one thing is, and I think you already kind of touched on it, they're not putting themselves out there. There is this immense fear of not only self-judgment, but judgment from others. If I put myself out there, I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to sound stupid. What are these people going to think about me? So the fear of putting one's self out there is so debilitating, they do nothing at all. The second thing is a lack of consistency. And I think, Kyle, you know about this. We call it the stop-start methodology. People are just gung-ho when something is kind of shiny and new, and they're going for it for a couple of days, and then that shine starts to wear off, and it gets a little bit duller and less excited, and before you know it, it's collecting dust on the shelf. The same thing goes when someone possesses a lack of confidence. And anyone that wants to succeed in any business, you have to create the compounded effect. I'm big on analogies. So I always used to I like to use investing as an example. And the way that I like to correlate that to LinkedIn is that LinkedIn, you need to treat like a 401k. You don't invest one time into your 401k and create all the wealth for the lifetime that you're going to be investing in it. It is something that you have to invest every day, every week, every month, every year. It's just like anything else. If you want to create that compounded effect, there does need to be a little bit more consistency and putting yourself out there, just like I mentioned. And I would say the other aspect of this is the fact that if you do not allow that compounded effect to take place, well, guess what? Then, to your point, no one is going to see you on the platform. No one is going to experience your brilliance, which means no one is going to know what you do and how you can help them, which is going to debilitate your sales, your revenue, and the overall business that you may or may not have. So understanding the consistency is everything. And I would say the third and final thing that a lack of confidence ends up doing is it really changes your personality, because when you're looking to become the expert in the space that you're in, when you're really looking to position yourself as the go-to person, people can sense a lack of confidence or someone that possesses really good, positive confidence in what they're doing. So when someone is letting that lack of confidence shine through. So imagine getting on the phone, Kyle, with someone and they're like, well, I think I can kind of help you with this. I think I can get you results. Is someone going to invest in someone that is lacking confidence, or are they more likely to invest in someone that possesses confidence in what they do? And I would say, above all else, those are my big three in what could happen when someone does lack that confidence in what they're doing.
And these all reinforce on each other. You mentioned the shiny object syndrome and the lack of consistency, where you post a lot when you have a lot of good energy and then that starts to diminish. And this harms your confidence because you know on kind of a deep level that you're not able to trust yourself or able to follow through on these things. And I see this a lot. In fact, I have a joke business that I particularly target health experts with called Certaholics Anonymous that targets this exact thing. You already get it. And I've seen this time and time again where people are on this merry-go-round of certifications and programs and things because they think that if they go through this one more thing to get one more tool in the tool chest, then things are finally going to work. But that never does work. All of the tools could possibly work, but none of them do. And the reason is because I really feel that this is something to do with our education system. And back when we were going to school, somebody would give us an assignment and they would give us a clear rubric of what to do, and we would have a clear deadline, and then somebody would give us a clear grade at the end, and everything was laid out before us. And entrepreneurship is nothing like that. There's no rubric, there's no grade, there's no guidelines. There's this cold emptiness. And it's very uncomfortable to sit in, and you have to sit in it and create your own rubric and your own confidence over time. But when we join our programs and we start getting our certificates, then it mimics that early stages of, it feels like we're making progress for the first little bit. We're learning a new thing. We've got some new energy, and it all starts to diminish and fall apart over time when we really have to stand on our own and make it happen. And again, this harms our trust of ourselves. It shows up in you use some very specific language, which is like on a sales call. Oh, I think I can help you. Or maybe I could do this. It shows up in your posture. It shows up in so many ways that people aren't aware of in this case. And it just bleeds through. So if you are one of these people, sign up for Certaholics Anonymous. I will create a new certification for you every week until you are done doing it. But anyway, joke business over.
But I just want to kind of touch on something really quickly.
Yeah.
And what you were kind of alluding to is something that my wife and I talk about often, which is hard skills versus soft skills. And for the audience that is not clear on that, as we go through school, we're taught hard skills, right? We're given an assignment and we get a measurable grade. Here's the test. You got a 95 out of 100, you get an A plus. But soft skills are the ones in entrepreneurship that are not taught in school. That is how you communicate with people, how you listen to people, asking the right questions, all the stuff that we talk about in sales and in marketing and branding. Those are things that you have to kind of grow through and go through. It's the school of hard knocks, as they call it. And, for me, Kyle, I got an early education in soft skills. My father was and still is an entrepreneur. My great-grandfather, who just passed away 2 weeks ago at 97, was an entrepreneur. My great-grandfather was a butcher in South Philadelphia, had his own butcher shop. So I come from a long lineage of entrepreneurs. My dad ended up getting caught up in an insurance fraud scam in the mid-90s that landed him in federal prison for 2.5 years in the late 90s. And at that time, I was a sophomore in college, 19 years old. My dad had purchased a failing business in the form of a fitness club in downtown Philadelphia, so he would have something to leave the family for monetary purposes, which was myself, my sister, and my mother. My parents are no longer together, but they were at this time. And I was at the University of Pittsburgh. I was pulled out. Grades weren't good anyway. Ended up transferring to Temple University in downtown Philadelphia, but also took over the gym as a 19-year-old sophomore in college. I was a teenager. And you want to talk about the school of hard knocks. And I still ended up graduating in 5 years with a bachelor's in HR. But what I learned in those first few years running that business while my father was away, irreplaceable knowledge, understanding the chain of command, because I'm this teenager with this little Jufro at the time. I was a big hippie. I had to, really clean myself up. I had to remove all the hemp and the patchwork pants and the Birkenstocks with my big thick socks. And I was part of a gym now. I had to look the part. So I started working out, shaved my head, did all that stuff. But I had a general manager. I had group fitness instructors. I had chiropractors. And I had to learn how to communicate with these people that were at least 10 years to 15 years older than me. But also the members. I had never been in a business where you had to build relationships with each person that walked through that door. Hi, how are you? Have a great workout. And as they left, saying goodbye. My mom would trade recipes with the women at the gym. We would have gym parties. And we were known as the Cheers of Gyms. Everybody knew your name. We created a culture. We created a community. And Kyle, I can't tell you how much I appreciated that experience, because it taught me the art of being human-centric and people-focused and really results-driven, in the sense of, how could I serve this person today? And I really got great at sales too, because when someone would walk in and they're like, hey, can you give me a tour of the gym? I wouldn't just give them a tour. This came to me so naturally. Most people, when they're looking to create sales in business, they don't customize the journey with the person that they're talking to. So let me give you the example. If someone walked into the gym and they said, hey, can you give me a tour? Do you know what my first question would be, Kyle? My first question would be, what are you looking to achieve in joining a gym?
Mm-hmm.
And why I ask that is their answer is going to dictate where I start their tour. So if they say, I'm really looking to, join a gym and, take some fitness classes and be in more of a group environment, or, I'm really looking to put on some size. So want to do a little bit of strength training, or just looking to do some cardio. I have a couple half marathons coming up this year and I want to have a place to train inside when it's cold. Each one of those responses is going to have a different starting point in that tour. And by the time that tour was done, guess what? They signed up. Because I delivered exactly what they wanted to do. And this is what I mean about the hard skills versus the soft skills. And
Definitely.
To any entrepreneur that's watching or listening to this, it takes time. I'm still honing my skills. I'm still a work in progress and looking to get better and better. So I just wanted to kind of jam on that.
Let me direct this line of thought to a specific moment and a specific story. I would love to hear, you mentioned this transformation in your gym, and you mentioned there was no doubt a time after leaving the gym space, or maybe just venturing into this new LinkedIn space, where you were suffering. You mentioned this in the gym context of having to upgrade yourself and clean up your act in a lot of different ways. Can you tell me about this same experience for you, but when it came to LinkedIn messaging, when you were experiencing a lack of confidence, a lack of consistency, and maybe changes in your personality, you were moving into this new world after being successful in this fitness space. And I want to specifically direct you, not necessarily to try and teach us anything, because we've had a lot of good discussion around this, but a moment of a very specific moment in your life and the emotional experience of it.
When it comes to LinkedIn and that beginning journey?
Yeah. Early on, when you were feeling
clear as day.
Clients are feeling.
Clear as day. So it was pretty early on. And again, I was taking my in-person fitness business because I was tired of trading time for dollars. If I wasn't training someone in person, I wasn't making money. And I'm like, my demographic, the people I train are business professionals. I need to find them online. That was LinkedIn. So I got on there. I started connecting, messaging, having conversation after conversation. And I was just spraying and praying. I was connecting with anyone and everyone. I was messaging anyone and everyone. And I realized very quickly that there was a big difference in how you need to communicate the value that you provide for what the person may be looking for in person compared to over a phone call or a Zoom meeting. And I remember I got on this one call and I really didn't have as much structure as I really needed. And the mistake I made from day one on this particular day, which I learned a valuable lesson, was I made the conversation all about me. I was talking about myself, what I can do, how I can help. And it was about 10 minutes in of me just blabbering to this person. And they stopped me. They said, "Scott, stop." And I said, "Yeah." And they said, "Listen, I'm going to get off the phone right now. But before I do, I want to give you some feedback." I said, "Okay." He said, "You just went on for 10 minutes, all about yourself, what you could do for me, how you can help, all this stuff coming from an egoic place." He goes, "You know what you didn't do? You didn't ask me how I was. You didn't ask me what I do. You didn't ask me any questions at all. You took zero time to get to know me as a person, to find out if I even needed the help that you wanted to offer me." So he goes, "Moving forward, just take my advice if you want to actually do better on this platform, start asking more questions and start getting to know the people that you're connected to. And he hung up on me.
Awesome. What room were you sitting in this phone call?
I was in my management office at my gym.
Give me one detail about this office.
So my desk faced a wall. To the left of that was basically a window that allowed me to see out into the gym as people were coming and walking in. And it was a yellow room. And I'm a very active phone call person. So I was basically just walking in a circle, the whole time this conversation was going on. And to the left of me, I would just see member walking by, member walking by, member walking by. And I remember when he hung up on me, I was really taken back because it was one of the first times that ever happened to me. And I just sat down in my desk, and it was kind of like one of those big mirror turning moments for me that I really needed to take a look at doing things differently if I really wanted to make this business successful.
Yeah. Awesome. Scott, would you like to hear your story?
Sure, please. Hit me with it.
Scott, stop. I'm going to hang up the phone right now. Ooh, this landed like a punch in the gut. I'm in my office at my gym. The walls covered in my accolades and certifications. People walking by in my gym, back and forth, being successful, getting results, trying something new. And here I am trying something new. I realized that I had been in a time for dollars trap. And even though I was fit and had a lot of endurance, the constant need for putting more energy into my business over and over in every single way was really starting to wear on me. And so I started entering the world of LinkedIn, started creating posts and putting myself out there. And honestly, it kind of felt icky just pushing as much as I could, trying to prove myself to the people that I was reaching out to. I would have moments of excitement and energy, posting as much as I could. And then I would have moments where I just felt crushed by the weight and confusion of it all. I would reach out to literally anyone, and anyone who would book a call with me, I would get on a call with them, which really only served to make my confidence even less, because time after time after time, I would get people who would waste my time, say no, and I would push away the very best people, especially in this particular conversation. I can remember signing on to this call, or just hopping on to a normal phone call. And I really felt the need. I knew that I could help this person. And I knew I needed some new clients. I needed to bring some things in. And I started telling him about all of the ways that I could help him, all of the things that I could do for him, all of the things that I knew. I was trying to prove myself. And all of a sudden he goes, "Scott, stop. I'm going to get off the phone. But before I do, I want to give you some feedback. You just went on for 10 minutes coming from an egoic place." I'm thinking, egoic place? I was trying to be selfish. I was trying to talk about how I could help him. But really, as he started to explain what was going on, I saw that it was true, that I was just trying to prove myself, that I was trying to get a result, that I didn't even care about him based on what he said next. You didn't ask me how I was, what I do, or any questions. You took zero time to find out if I even needed the help that you get. If you want to do better on this platform, you need to take my advice and start asking more questions. Click, and I'm back in the silence of my office, hearing the music from the gym echoing through, hoping nobody looks into the window into my office and sees the broken and confused look on my face. And I sat down and right there decided that I needed to do something different. I needed a way to show up in service, to show up in excitement and confidence as my first class self. I needed a way to attract the right people so that I could have better calls and show up as more of myself. I wanted a way that I could be truthful in my posting and being honest in who I was and what I was doing. I needed a way that it could be necessary and being excited and knowing that what I was creating was in service, and kind in a way that knowing that I was making the world better by what I was creating and what I was sharing and letting my business grow. Now, friends, this took a long time and a lot of costly and painful mistakes. I had to figure this out all by myself. It was totally uncharted territory and self-taught. But I can remember a few years later on another phone call with a mentor that I had really appreciated. And I started sharing my new methods and my new techniques to get my message out there, to attract the right leads and attract the right calls. And I heard this one mentor of mine say, Scott, I don't know how you figured out this platform, but what you're doing totally works. And you need to be teaching this for other people. You've spent the last decade and a half teaching people how to have healthy bodies. But now it's time for you to create healthy businesses. And it was true. This process allowed me to show up authentically at scale and bring in the best people from all over the world. It gave me a way to have a compounding effect on my time and energy and expand what I was doing. And now that I could see that so much more was possible, I could have so much of a bigger impact. And that's exactly what I'm here to teach you and share with you today. There you go.
You nailed it.
Thank you.
Now I know why you're good at what you do.
It's the same thing
That's
in
impressive.
a lot of ways. What you were mentioning applied to LinkedIn and in fact applied to Story. A lot of the times we want to show off all of our skills and our talents and our backgrounds and our history. And a lot of the time we want to teach our way and prove ourselves to our clients when in fact they want to feel heard and understood. And we can't necessarily ask them these questions in advance, but based on what you knew and what you shared about your clients, we took your moments and tailored it to meet them where they are. And that's one piece of the magic that's possible with better stories and better teaching.
Agreed. No, that was amazing.
Thank you. And so now we are just about up with our time. Scott, where can we go to learn more about you and this magical process? And do you have any closing thoughts for us today?
If I had to close this interview out with any specific thoughts, well, number one, it would be, to you, Kyle, thank you for showcasing your brilliance and helping me craft a better story, because that totally resonated. And the teacher's always the student, so I'm always looking to learn, and I learned a lot about what you actually went through with me today. So number one, thank you for that. And I would say second, just to leave something with the audience, is I have full confidence in every single person that I meet. I have full confidence in anyone listening to this or watching this can be as successful as they want to be, if they want to be. And I just want to kind of leave you with this thought. My wife and I believe in something called the 51-49 rule. You have to want your goals, your dreams, 51% for yourself, and those around you have to want it 49% for yourself, for themselves. If that's reversed, and someone that you're coaching with, a coaching program you're involved with, the people around you want it 51% for you and you want it 49% for yourself, guess what's going to happen? You're going to spin those tires and you're not going to move anywhere forward. So I don't care if it's 65-35. Just like I said, it could be 50.9 and 49.1. As long as you want it more than those around you, the only thing that's ever going to stop you from achieving what you truly want is the person that looks back at you in the mirror each day. So the simple message is just get out of your own way. And something that one of our clients, Teresa, said, how much longer are you going to make those around you wait to see and hear your brilliance? If anyone wants to learn more about me, you obviously can find me on LinkedIn. My two websites, my personal website about my LinkedIn coaching and consulting is scottaaron.net. And then if you want to learn more about my wife and myself, we do have a private community called the Expert Content Society. It's a LinkedIn focused community using the help of AI with ChatGPT prompts. My wife actually creates 24 personalized GPTs each month. So you get 24 posts per month that basically has a private prompt that you put your information to it, spits out a custom post for yourself that you can use for LinkedIn. You can learn more about that and everything else that we do if you visit thetimetogrowcom, and we would love to serve and help you any way that we can.
Scott Aaron, thank you so much for joining us today on the Story Engine podcast.
Thank you, Kyle.